to win over Willow, the frugal campus queen. I, the Wong family's high society heir with hundreds of thousands in monthly pocket money, played the broke guy for 3 whole years. I mooched her meals and drinks, just to play the broke card and milk her sympathy, but I never expected her rich kid dreamboat to suddenly return from abroad, mock me to my face as a broke loser, and even threaten to have his dad blacklist me across the industry. Fine, so we're playing the daddy card. I'm laying my cards on the table. No more pretending. Chapter 01. I chased Willow for 3 whole years before she finally became my girlfriend. Everyone said she only agreed to date me because my persistence gave her a headache and she gave in just to get rid of me. Nonsense. I'm convinced she must have seen my shining qualities. I mean, come on, I'm so talented and ridiculously handsome. How could being with me ever be something to settle for? So I asked Willow why she liked me. She looked a little embarrassed, tapped her temple with a finger, thought for a while, and said, "Because I was moved by your poor but unyielding spirit." I froze on the spot. Coming from someone else, I would have thought that was a lie, but looking at Willow's expression, I knew she meant it. That's the problem, Willow never lies to me. Damn it, that's where things got tricky. Turns out, in Willow's eyes, I've been nothing but a cheerful, stubborn, broke little guy all along, and it's all my fault. These 3 years of mooching off others' meals and pretending to be poor, I really overdid it. I glanced at my WeChat and saw the 500,000 yuan living allowance my dad had just transferred. That rich old man said, "Son, your mom decided your spending ban is over. You can have your pocket money back." Before, I would have taken that money and treated everyone to a 3-day, 3-night party without hesitation. But now, I didn't dare. Quietly, I hit the refund button and deleted the transfer record right away. Seeing me go silent, Willow chuckled softly and said, "Once I finish these 2 pages of problems, let's go have hot pot." Ever since our junior year, Willow's been camping out in the library every day, and she keeps forcing me to study for grad school with her. But me, I study 3 days, slack off 2. Every time I open a book, I feel sleepy. Willow's always exasperated with me, grinning like an idiot. I said, "I don't want food, I want you." Willow's pale cheeks slowly flushed red as she pinched my arm hard. She has a cool, distant look, like a flower blooming high on a snowy mountain. Impossible to pick, but once you get close, you realize she blushes easily. That's Willow for you, cold on the outside, even colder on the inside. Warming her up takes a lot of effort. Thinking back on my 3-year wife-chasing journey, I can't help but sigh. If I'd put the same energy into studying back then, I could have gotten into any top university. Everyone thought I chased Willow because I was shallow and just attracted by her looks, but the truth is, I'd been planning this for a long time, because Willow was the scholarship student my dad sponsored. Her name had followed me through my entire high school life. Chapter 02. Back in middle school, I was as fat as a little pig and not very tall either. Everyone in class called me fatty. My mom was determined to make me lose weight, so she strictly controlled what I ate. I used to sneak into my dad's office just to gnaw on a chicken leg in secret, and that was when Willow appeared. She was my age, also in the 3rd year of junior high, wearing a plain white dress and faded canvas shoes. When Willow walked in, she carried an aura of cool stillness, as if even the air around her was freezing over. I already knew who she was. My dad had been sponsoring her for 3 years. When she was 8, her mother fell seriously ill, which completely crushed their family. She had been featured in the local newspaper, a young girl who stayed by her mother's hospital bed, cooking and doing laundry all by herself. Her father was a gambling addict. He used to hit her and curse at her until the neighbors reported him to the community office, forcing him to restrain himself a bit. Later, her mother passed away, and her father disappeared without a trace. She was left with only her grandmother, the two relying on each other for survival. My dad knew her grandmother, so he decided to support Willow's education. Every year, she was top of the school and would always send her report card to my father. Whenever Dad mentioned her, he would praise how outstanding she was, and take the chance to criticize me for comparison. But I was as thick-skinned as a pig in boiling water. It didn't bother me at all, until the day I saw her in person. That's when I pathetically fell, head over heels. How could someone so breathtakingly beautiful exist in this world? Her grandmother was sick, and she had come to my father to borrow money. When I found out, I brought fruit to the hospital that very night, ready to make my move. But when I got there, I saw Willow crying. A boy beside her said softly, "Don't worry, I'll help you figure out the money. Your grandma's going to be fine." His voice was full of tenderness. With a gentle look, he said, "Don't cry. It's late already. I don't feel safe letting you go home alone. Let's go together." Willow stood in the dim light, nodding slightly, letting him wipe away her tears with care. I clenched the fruit bag in my hand, looked down at my chubby fingers, and in the end, I couldn't take that step forward. From then on, I became like a thief, secretly watching Willow's life from the shadows. I saw her win first place in the English speech contest. Saw her rank first in her grade again. Saw her named one of the city's 3 good students. I saw her walking home with Makoto, standing beside him on the stage, their shoulders almost touching. I started hiring tutor after tutor, cramming knowledge into my head and refusing to play outside anymore. I trained like crazy, eating nothing but boiled chicken breast every meal. No matter how much my dad tried to tempt me, I wouldn't touch a bite of my once beloved braised pork. It took me 3 whole years to finally stand beside Willow, and another 3 years to finally make her my girlfriend. Chapter 03. Not long after starting high school, Willow had already become the most famous beauty on campus. There were so many guys chasing after her that they tried every trick in the book. During those 3 years of high school, I pushed myself to study and work out like crazy. But when I finally got close to her, I somehow lost all my courage. The first time I really got a chance to talk to Willow was in the cafeteria. I was begging the cafeteria auntie to give me an extra serving of food. My mom is ruthless. She cut off my financial support to force me to study abroad. So when I first started university, I spent like a king and went broke within a week. I couldn't even afford meat anymore. That day in the cafeteria, I didn't realize Willow was right behind me. Just as I shamelessly sweet-talked the auntie into giving me an extra ladle of braised pork gravy, I turned around, and there she was. I felt my face burn with embarrassment and wanted to crawl into a hole. I lowered my head, ready to bolt. But she grabbed my arm and asked for my WeChat instead. At the time, I thought Willow must have fallen for me at first sight too, but after we added each other, she sent me a bunch of part-time job listings, convenience stores, flyer distribution gigs, all that. I was dumbfounded. From that day on, I started following Willow around to do part-time jobs, and that's when I truly learned how hard her life was. Every single day, she either studied or worked. No entertainment, no breaks. The moment she got paid, she'd keep only a bit for living expenses and use the rest to pay off debts. Some owed to my dad, others to different people. She kept meticulous records, even paying back interest. I hung around her long enough that, somehow, I accidentally became her boyfriend. Thinking about it now still feels surreal, like I'd won the lottery jackpot. Just as I was lost in thought, a loud yell from the video call snapped me out of it. "Go get her," David shouted mischievously. "Big G, she's already got the outfit ready. What are you hesitating for? Time to show your true power and make your move." David's my childhood best friend. We grew up together, and he knows everything about me. While talking to him, I stared at the lace lingerie in front of me, hesitating. "You think I can pull this off? I've got no experience." Willow and I had been dating for half a year, and we'd always kept things decent. Even when I got aroused, I'd quickly calm myself down. But today, when I helped her collect her package, it turned out to be a lace nightgown. Was she planning to make a move on her birthday? David barked. "Are you even a man? A man never says he can't. You're not that fatty from back in the day anymore, you're the 8-pack beast. The muscle demon George." He went on hyping me up. "I'm sending you 200 terabytes of study material. Watch and learn, my man. You have to win Willow over tonight. You owe it to your 6 years of effort." I sighed. "Listen to yourself, it's like I've spent 6 years just to sleep with Willow." Then I emphasized, "We're true love. True love, got it?" David burst out laughing. "Same thing, bro. True love just means you get to make love over and over again without guilt." We discussed a detailed plan, and I mentally rehearsed everything. Then David asked, "Big G, when are you going to tell Willow who you really are?" His question froze me. I went silent. If he hadn't reminded me, I might have forgotten. In front of Willow, I'm George, a broke student who pinches every penny, licks the yogurt lid clean, and polishes off the sauce when eating braised pork. When I entered college, I told my dad my name sounded ugly and begged him to change it. So he changed it, from Giorgio to George. When I got my ID, I looked at the name and felt like it had changed, and at the same time, like it hadn't. David said, "Forget it." With Willow's personality, if she ever found out you'd been lying to her for 3 years, she'd come after you to kill you. He answered for me before I could say anything. I said, "You already know. So keep it to yourself. If Willow finds out who I really am, we're all doomed." I gritted my teeth and decided not to think about it for now. Willow called on video, so I quickly hung up on David. She asked, "It's almost 11, not asleep yet. What are you doing?" On screen she squinted at me. I finally noticed the time and, awkwardly smiling, answered, "Missing you keeps me up. Last month I got hooked on Battlefield, stayed up late gaming with friends, and looked like I'd been drained dry every day." My roommates started suspecting I was out partying. I was totally speechless. Willow actually followed me and discovered I'd sneaked out to game late at night. Her face when she found out, you'd think I'd been caught betting a mistress. After hauling me back to campus, she started checking on me at fixed times every night. When Willow heard my line, she curved her lips into a slight smile and hummed, All right, go to sleep. I pushed it. Wait, give me a kiss first. Seeing her cheeks flush made me itch all over. God, how could she be so cute, my girlfriend and that cute? Willow glanced around quickly, pecked the screen, and with rosy cheeks said, okay, sleep. I'll come find you at 7 tomorrow. I hung up, lay back in bed satisfied, and savored the moment. Right then my roommate Luis barged into the dorm on cue, eyes shining as he yanked me up. Dude, where'd you get that Patek Philippe? I totally stole the show today, destroyed that rich jerk who looks down on people. This replica's way too real. A while back Luis had a run-in at a party with some trust fund kid whose mouth was bigger than his bank account. Today Luis wanted to make a scene and borrowed my fake watch. I wanted to tell him it was real, but I didn't dare. After all, my roommates have helped me a lot these past 3 years, always saving me a portion when ordering food. I never meant for things to get this out of hand. My mom cut me off hard, 3 years with no allowance. I scraped by doing all kinds of part-time jobs, and everyone thought I was flat broke. I laughed awkwardly and said, I forgot where I got it. Then I urged him, hurry up and wash, lights out in 10 minutes. He didn't press further. I secretly wiped my brow, always feeling like one day if I told the truth they'd beat the life out of me. That night I hid under the covers studying the materials David sent. Let's just say I had very vivid dreams, and even woke up with a nosebleed the next day. Finally, Willow's birthday arrived. I was pumped and posted a bold promise in the WeChat group. I said, if I can conquer Willow in one go, I'll be David's dad on the spot. David replied, get lost. If you can conquer Willow, all 7 of us will be your dads. Jordan added, get lost. Don't drag us into this. Chapter 04. It was my first time celebrating Willow's birthday. For the past 3 years, she'd always been too busy working part-time, and she never celebrated her birthday. Whenever I tried to give her gifts back then, she'd actually get mad. But now things were different. This time, I had every right to celebrate it with her. When Willow called me that evening, I lied and said I had something to do and couldn't have dinner with her. She simply replied, oh, all right then. Her tone calm and unreadable. I teased her on purpose. Why? Is today some kind of special day? Normally you just grab a bite and call it done. Willow never cared about food or clothes. When we used to work part-time together, she rotated just 2 sets of clothes for summer and 2 for winter. I couldn't stand it anymore, so after getting paid once, I bought her a few new outfits. She got so upset about me spending money that she gave me the cold shoulder for days. All those clothes didn't even cost 1,000 yuan, but she still scolded me, saying, do you know how many meals of beef that could buy? Don't waste money, save it. As my thoughts wandered, Willow went silent for a couple of seconds, then said softly, no reason. Let's just see each other tomorrow. I hung up, grinning to myself, because I was already in her house. Willow lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment left to her by her grandmother. She came back every weekend to clean and tidy up. I'd lit some scented candles in her bedroom, filling the air with a light, sweet aroma. Before I knew it, my mind started drifting toward thoughts I shouldn't have, and my blood rushed hot. Willow usually studied in the library until 7 and came home by 8 on Saturdays, so I decided to take a shower, brush my teeth, and be fully ready. But after my shower, I checked the time. It was only 7. I scrolled through short videos to kill time and, somehow, dozed off on the couch. When I woke up, it was pitch dark. Damn it, I'd fallen asleep at the most critical moment. I grabbed my phone. 8:30 p.m. already. David had even sent me several new, educational videos. Just as I was about to reply, I heard voices outside the door. Willow was talking to someone. I heard her say, what are you doing here? My heart dropped. Someone else was with her. Panicking, I scrambled to pull on my pants, but accidentally tapped play on one of David's videos. The room filled with very unmistakable sounds. The door swung open, and there I was, standing frozen, holding my pants, surrounded by the echo of study noises. At the door stood Willow and Makoto. Makoto stared at me with a face twisted like he was suffering from constipation. Chapter 05. That night, Willow held my arm and introduced our relationship to Makoto. Makoto smiled a little and said, no way, bro. So you're Willow's boyfriend. I thought you were some random por. He stopped halfway through, looking a bit embarrassed. I knew what he really meant was that he thought I was some random pervert. If anyone else had said that, I would have flipped right there. But Makoto looked at me with such an apologetic face that my anger just vanished. Well, he called me bro. So what else could I say? Willow frowned and said, Makoto, next time you visit me, call ahead. We're not kids anymore, it's inconvenient otherwise. Her arm looped through mine as she walked him out. Makoto's smile faltered for a moment before he forced a laugh. Brother, you're one lucky guy. I used to block so many love letters for her. Now that she's got a boyfriend, I guess my job as the protective big brother is over. Makoto was a few months older than Willow, and he'd always called her little sister since they were kids. Back in those days, when I was trying to lose weight and couldn't resist chicken breast, I used to chew it while watching Willow and Makoto together. It made every bite taste both bitter and sweet. Hearing him call her little sister back then drove me crazy. I even went home and demanded my dad get me a little sister too. He answered with a beating instead. Now that we're grown, hearing Makoto still call her that feels off. This isn't some drama series. Who keeps saying little sister like that? It's just weird. I wanted to ask Willow how she felt about Makoto coming back, but I couldn't bring myself to. After all, I'd seen her that day years ago, standing alone in the pouring rain when Makoto left to study abroad, her face pale and desolate, and there I was across the street, gnawing on chicken breast, watching her from afar. Later, I told David that Makoto had returned and shared my concerns. David rolled his eyes. Dude, why are you acting scared? Makoto's a campus prince type. Sure, but you're Big G, a tall, rich, handsome guy. As they say, a real man never worries about being single. Even if you dumped Willow right now, girls would be lining up from here to France. I sighed. You don't get it. I've always been a gossip addict. From junior high to high school, I used to follow them around just to see what was going on. Back then, I thought I didn't stand a chance with Willow, so I just wanted to see how their story ended. You know, if you start a drama, you gotta see the ending. David was scrolling through his computer when he suddenly cursed, interrupting me. Big G, check your campus forum right now. I opened it, and the front page was plastered with Makoto's name. Breaking news, international rising artist Makoto enrolls at a university. Expose, Makoto and campus beauty Willow were childhood sweethearts. I clicked into one post. It was full of stories from their past, Makoto playing basketball while Willow brought him water. Willow dancing while Makoto sang at school events. It was clearly written by someone who'd gone to school with them. Every detail sounded true, and the post was full of old photos to prove it. An anonymous user posted, I can vouch for this, they're a match made in heaven. Same school, same class from middle school through high school. Childhood sweethearts. Super enviable. I remember once Willow vomited in class and Makoto dropped everything to take her to the hospital. I couldn't help but reply, it wasn't that she was vomiting, it was that her period came and she was in terrible pain. I have special standing to talk about that. I was in the hospital that day and I saw them go in together with my own eyes. Reading those gossip posts gave me a wave of nostalgia. No wonder everyone loves shipping couples, it's intoxicating. But as I scrolled, the replies started to turn nasty. Damn, what the hell are these idiots talking about? David swore in the video, and I saw the comments for myself. One anonymous user wrote, Computer Science's George is scum, he slipped in and stole someone else's girlfriend. I heard he paid people to fabricate dirty rumors about Willow to create a misunderstanding between Makoto and her. That's disgusting and despicable. Another anonymous reply, for real, he always looked shady to me, such a petty smug face. Good thing Makoto's back. It's time to take back what's his. That clown has no place here next to a perfect couple like them. Someone else posted, guys, don't say I started this rumor. Here's a pic, take a look at how shameless this guy is. He supposedly worked part-time all through college but now pretends to be a trust fund baby to pick up girls. I bet he took out online loans to rent a fancy car and built this fake persona to skim girls out of money and favors. Sisters, watch out, don't let this scumbag swindle you. I clicked the photo. It was a late-night candid shot, blurry unless you zoom in. I was stepping down from a Maybach, wearing a limited edition Patek Philippe. Another comment, yup, it's him. At a dinner the other day my roommate got drugged after drinking from his cup. She called me and I got there in time. Otherwise who knows what would have happened. I was getting worked up reading the responses when the door was suddenly kicked open. Our classmates who'd been heading to an elective stormed in. Luis, who had moved to the front, rolled up his sleeves and snarled, damn it, get online. All of you, main accounts and alts both. When I was working as paid internet trolls, these guys were still in bed nibbling their toes. Third, contact your programmer little brother and have him trace the IPs. Second, ask your lawyer dad how we should deal with people who spread these rumors. If the tiger doesn't show its teeth, they'll think Dorm 306 is a bunch of sick kittens. They're slandering our fourth, crush them, crush them, crush them. Chapter 06. When Willow rushed in, my eyes were a little red as I watched Louise passionately battling the online haters. Seeing me like that, her heart clearly broke. She ran into my arms and hugged me tightly, her voice trembling. George, it's okay to cry. Let it out. I'll be here with you. We'll find out who spread those lies and make them pay. All right. I blinked at her, caught off guard by her tears, and said, they just cursed me out a bit. Doesn't even sting. Why would I cry? Louise cut in without looking up. Big G just used eye drops. Still typing furiously, he muttered. Huh. These guys have some skill. Looks like we're dealing with professional trolls. Willow was speechless. She wiped away her tears and said nothing more. At first, we thought it was just a few random haters hiding behind screens. But when we finally traced those IP addresses, we were stunned. They were all foreign, nearly impossible to pursue legally. The school blocked their accounts, but the rumors kept spreading faster and wider. Every few days, new posts would appear, and the school would delete them again. My reputation turned half black, half notorious. Walking across campus, I could feel the stares and whispers following me. People pointed and murmured, "Isn't that the guy who drugged a girl?" "Yeah, total creep. Should have been castrated by now. Look at that wannabe rich boy, cheap clothes and fake swagger. Real luxury can't be faked." Their voices weren't even hushed, they made sure I could hear every word. Some even called me, sent threatening texts, saying I should disappear for good. I thought all this gossip would just ruin my peace of mind. I didn't realize it would end up dragging Willow into it too, because of me. She got into a huge argument with another student, and even slapped him across the face. The guy's name was Martin, a notorious rich kid from our department. Martin was obsessed with flaunting his wealth. He practically wanted to tattoo the word money on his forehead. He'd pursued Willow before, but she had rejected him flatly. When Makoto told me about what happened, fury exploded in my chest. I stood up right away, ready to go find Martin and make him pay. But Makoto stopped me. "George, calm down," he said urgently. "Do you realize how much effort Willow put into this competition? If she wins, she'll be guaranteed a graduate placement, and she could even get a good amount of prize money to pay off her debts. But now, because of you, she slapped Martin, and Martin's uncle is one of the judges. His family is also a sponsor for the event. If they pull out, a lot of people will be affected, and it'll destroy Willow's chance." Luis slammed his chopsticks down. "So what if she slapped him? The bastard deserved it. If you ask me, Willow did the right thing. Let's go, George. A jerk like that deserves a good beating." Willow had slapped Martin because he'd been spreading rumors about me in class, calling me a piece of trash who pretended to be rich just to trick women into sleeping with me. Makoto said, "George, you have to see the bigger picture. The priority now is to calm Martin down." Then, in an earnest tone, he added, "Martin said that as long as you apologize, he'll forgive my sister. George, if you really are short on money, once this is over, I can lend you some. How about 100,000? Luis frowned and muttered, "Bro, doesn't that sound off to you?" And he had to pick the cafeteria of all places to talk about it. "Great, tomorrow the haters on the campus forum will have a new team building event." When Makoto approached me, Luis and I were in the cafeteria having lunch. As he walked over, people started whispering, eyes darting between us. He asked me to go apologize to Martin. Everyone nearby perked up their ears, pretending not to stare but listening intently. The looks they gave me grew stranger and stranger, pity mixed with judgment. I turned to Makoto. He looked genuinely anxious, probably just worried about Willow's future. Meanwhile, I, the actual boyfriend, sat there calm as still water. "Apologize to Martin, right?" I said quietly. Then I stood up in one smooth motion, a cold smile tugging at my lips. "Fine, let's go." Chapter 07. Willow and Martin were still in the small classroom when I arrived. Just as I reached the door, I heard Martin's sneering voice. "What's wrong? Feeling humiliated now?" he taunted. "Guess you're mad you got used for free. Huh? Makes sense. If you'd slept with me back then, at least you'd have gotten something out of it. You really are a stupid woman." Willow's face burned with anger. Martin tilted his head, tapping his right cheek with mockery. "Come on, Willow, go ahead. Slap me again if you dare. But let me warn you, if you lay a single finger on me, I'll make sure you never graduate. You remember your graduation project that was submitted to the university competition, right? My family's a sponsor of that event. So I'll say it now, you're finished. You won't get into grad school. And after you graduate, every company will blacklist you." Willow's team's graduation project had entered the university's National Innovation Contest. If they placed in the top 3, they would receive guaranteed admission for graduate studies and a startup fund. She had poured everything she had into it, and now, because of a single threat from Martin, all her hard work was about to crumble. But the next second, slap. Willow's palm struck his face so hard that the sound echoed through the classroom. Her voice was sharp and steady. "Martin, go ahead and report me to the school. Let's see whether they punish scum like you or me. Whether I graduate or not isn't up to your threats, it's up to my grades." I pushed the door open and stepped in. When Willow saw me, she rushed over immediately, gripping my arm tightly. "George," she said softly, her voice trembling, "I've already withdrawn from the competition. I'm going to sell the project. Your roommate said they found out someone overseas hired paid internet trolls to slander you. Once I get the money from selling the project, we'll trace it back and expose whoever did this. We'll make them pay." Her words pierced my chest. That project was like her child. She'd been developing it since freshman year. After more than 3 years, it had finally taken shape. She had dreamed of building her future around it after graduation. But once she sold it, she'd lose all ownership and control. She wasn't just selling a project, she was selling her dream. I cupped her face in my hands and looked into her eyes. Willow, I said slowly, leave this to me. You're not selling your project, and you're not quitting the competition. I hugged her tightly, then gently pushed her toward the door. Before she could protest, I locked it behind her. Louise started pounding on the door, shouting, "Bro, don't bow your head to that bastard." Through the window, Willow's teary eyes met mine, soft and blurry, like the world after rain. Makoto stood beside her, watching too. Everyone was watching. Martin stepped closer, licking his split lip and smirking. "What's the plan, George? You ready to crawl? If you kneel right now and apologize in front of everyone, I'll let Willow off the hook. You know it's true, one word from me, and she's done for." I gave him a small nod. Then, the next moment, I raised my fist and slammed it square into his face. "Damn it," I growled. "One step back, and they'll crush you. One moment of patience, and they'll spit on you. Today, if I didn't beat this scum until he screamed for his mommy, George, might as well be reborn as someone else." All those years my dad forced me to train in kickboxing finally paid off. Every move came back to me as I hit him again and again. I remembered what my old man used to tell me. "Son, your mom and I worked our whole lives to give you a backbone. Out there, don't bully others, but don't ever let anyone bully you either. Go out, fight for yourself. If trouble comes, we've got your back." Chapter 08. I had beaten Martin so badly that he screamed miserably, his face swollen and bruised. He rushed over to the door, yanked it open, and shouted, "George, I'm going to have you thrown in jail." Makoto hurriedly stopped me, saying, "George, why are you so impulsive? You're not thinking about Willow at all. It doesn't matter if she can't participate in the competition. I can still invest money to help her continue the project. But if you don't apologize to Martin, and he and the school decide to press charges, you'll only be hurting Willow." Someone nearby whispered, "Who's really Willow's boyfriend anyway? George is way too reckless." Another added, "Poor Willow, to have such a hot-headed boyfriend." I frowned, wanting to explain but not knowing how. A bit anxious, I said, "Willow, don't worry, you'll be fine. I'll handle everything." Willow grabbed my hand and looked at it with concern. "Does it hurt?" she asked softly, her expression full of worry. I froze for a second. Then Willow turned to Makoto, her voice cold. "Makoto, I'm George's girlfriend. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. My boyfriend was slandered and provoked by someone like Martin. I stood up for him willingly. What happens between us has nothing to do with you." Makoto grew desperate. "Willow, you've really been deceived by George," he said, shaking his head. "Think about it, he's just a broke student. Where did he get the money for a luxury watch and an expensive car? He told you the car was borrowed, but who would lend such a costly car for free? He must have rented it, and for what? He said the watch was fake, but I can tell, everything he's wearing is real." "Willow, listen to me, I'm just looking out for you." I glanced nervously at Willow, afraid she might misunderstand, but I couldn't explain a thing. Makoto, now visibly angry, snapped, "If you were a real man, you'd break up with Willow. People are gossiping about her being with you. How is she supposed to hold her head high? You can't give her the future she deserves." I looked at Makoto and almost laughed. "Oh really? So what? If she's not with me, she should be with you instead. I can't give her the future she wants, but you can," I asked mockingly. Before he could answer, Willow spoke up coldly. "Makoto, I was trying to spare you some dignity." She took out her phone, showing him a document on the screen. "But since you insist on being shameless, let me enlighten you. You hired paid internet trolls to spread false rumors and defame George. We already have the evidence. We've reported it to the police, and you can expect a subpoena soon." The crowd around us immediately erupted like a hornet's nest. I glanced at Willow's phone. It showed a WeChat chat window. The sender of the document was someone named David. I was confused. Since when had David been in contact with Willow? Martin suddenly shouted, "Willow, George, I've already called my dad. When he gets here, you'll both regret this. You'll be begging me by the time he's done." He looked smug, as if he'd already won. I sighed helplessly. Seriously, was he trying to have a who has the richer dad contest with me? Seeing me sigh only made Martin more arrogant. He sneered, "Scared now? Tell you what, hand Willow over to me, and I'll let you go." I was speechless. Chapter 09. David had thoroughly investigated Makoto's hiring of paid internet trolls to defame me overseas. He was worried I might swallow the humiliation for Willow's sake, so he went ahead and sent the evidence directly to her. Thankfully, David had disguised himself as a righteous good Samaritan, the kind who does good deeds without revealing his name, and didn't expose my identity. When Makoto realized we had uncovered his scheme, he dropped the act entirely. We were all sitting in the lecture hall, laying our cards out on the table. Makoto said, "Yeah, George, I did pay people to post about you. I wanted to force you to break up with my sister." He spoke with shameless confidence. "If I hadn't gone abroad to study back then, do you really think you would have ever had a chance?" Willow rolled her eyes and said coolly, "Even if you hadn't gone abroad, it still wouldn't have been your business." Makoto stared at her in disbelief. "Willow, my dear sister, you've always liked me. Why won't you just admit it? When I was studying overseas these past 3 years, you called me all the time. Doesn't that mean you couldn't let me go? Since we were kids, through middle school and high school, we've always been together." The moment I heard that, my ears perked right up. Yeah, I'd thought the same thing. Willow and Makoto really were the perfect pair. When Makoto left the country, Willow had been so heartbroken. If I hadn't stubbornly chased her all these years, wouldn't she have just reunited with him once he came back? Suddenly, Willow turned to me and flicked my ear, puffing her cheeks in mock anger. I rubbed my ear and gave her a helpless look. "What? Can't a guy be a little nosy?" Willow then said firmly. "Makoto, back then, my mom was in the hospital and my grandma was sick. Your mother helped me a lot. If she hadn't brought me a home-cooked meal every day, I probably would have starved." Willow's tone was calm but decisive as she continued. "When we were in middle school, you got into a fight and were injured. Your mom was so worried that she asked me to walk to and from school with you, to stop you from doing anything reckless. After you went abroad, you rarely called home. And your mom was afraid you'd think she was nagging if she phoned you too often, so she asked me to check in with you. All these years, I've always thought of you as a brother, nothing more." Willow paused for a moment, then continued calmly. "Besides, the year you went abroad, you confessed to me, and I turned you down. I made it very clear back then. From childhood to now, I have never liked you." Makoto's face twisted in disbelief. "Impossible. Absolutely impossible," he said, almost shouting. "Back in school, you used to bring me water. We performed together on stage. You never rejected me." Willow went quiet for a second, then sighed in exasperation. "That's because you went around telling everyone I liked you. You cared so much about your pride. If I had rejected you in front of everyone, you wouldn't have been able to show your face." Her words stunned me. I'd shipped them as a perfect couple for years, and it turned out the whole thing was fake. Makoto's jaw tightened, fury burning in his eyes. "You must be feeling pretty smug, huh, George? Watching me look like a clown." He clenched his fists, glaring at me. "You're either living off online loans or buying fakes. A broke loser pretending to be rich. You're just a scammer preying on women. Stay the hell away from my sister." I smacked my lips, sneaking a glance at Willow, still unsure how to explain my situation to her. Just then, my dorm mates burst into the room. "Bad news. That jerk Martin brought his dad and the pretentious coquette counselor to cause trouble," Luis said, panting. "What do we do now?" Our second roommate looked panicked. "I heard Martin's dad came prepared this time. He's donating $1,000,000 worth of teaching equipment to the school to pressure them into punishing you." The third guy scratched his head and said, "Yeah, this is bad. Even though Martin started the fight, the fact that you hit him doesn't look good for us." "Actually," I said weakly, "I'm not afraid of Martin. My dad is Million Wong." Luis looked at me speechlessly. "Dude, seriously, you're still bragging at a time like this?" He slapped me on the shoulder, fuming. "If your dad's Million Wong, then my dad's Elon Musk." The second roommate immediately chimed in. "And my dad's Bill Gates." Not to be outdone, the third one added, "Then my dad's Mark Zuckerberg." I was speechless. Chapter 10. Martin, with his father in tow, cornered us in the classroom, looking fierce, like they meant to do me in. His father, Simon, ran a mid-sized software company that supplied intelligent checkout systems to malls around the country. Along with them was our counselor. Everyone secretly called her the pretentious coquette counselor because of how calculating she is. She's the type who fawns over students with influence and money, but puts on a sour face and squeezes every last drop of power when poor, powerless students come to her. She particularly disliked me after the smear campaign, and actually called me in for a meeting, saying I wasn't acting like a proper student and was ruining the campus's reputation. I knew she was holding a grudge because of what happened with Luis. Luis applies for the National Motivational Scholarship every year. His grades are among the top in our department, so he usually gets it. Besides that, my dad and several companies had set up a scholarship at a university to help underprivileged students. Because Luis came from a poor family, I asked my dad to reserve an extra slot for him every year. Who would have thought the pretentious coquette counselor would unilaterally swap that scholarship slot and give it to a girl in the econ management department, a girl who clearly wasn't needy? When Luis and the rest of us confronted her, she said men should yield to women, which left Luis furious. I went and complained to my dad, and after that she was no longer in charge of scholarship allocations. Ever since, she's held it against our dorm and has been giving us trouble whenever she can. Now with Martin's stunt, she finally had an opportunity to pounce, and she was loving it. She glanced at me sideways and said, "Mr. Wu, this is the student who hit Martin. His name is George." Simon's face trembled with rage. "Today that student must apologize to my son, and the school must expel him." He fumed. "Look at what you did to my boy. If he isn't expelled, the Wu family won't be able to swallow this humiliation." I couldn't help but retort, "If you swallow it, People die. If the whole Wu family swallows this, you'll have annihilated yourselves. You can go around eating shit, but don't toss words like that around. Heaven's watching. What if he takes it seriously? Simon roared. Look at this. This is the kind of student a university produces. He was so furious that it looked like he might slap me right then and there. Martin, fuming beside him, added, he's just an ordinary student. There's no way he'd dare act so arrogantly unless he had some shady gang backing him. Counselor, this must be investigated thoroughly. We can't let someone like him tarnish our school's reputation. I smiled and said pleasantly, oh, I agree, it must be investigated thoroughly. You'll definitely get a surprise. The pretentious coquette counselor glared at me and said coldly, George, do you even remember you're a student? You assaulted a classmate in public, show no remorse, and continue to stir up trouble. Do you have any idea how many complaints the school has received about you? Simon put on his most self-righteous tone and said, Counselor, you mentioned earlier that there's no record of him in the academic system. Doesn't that prove he's not an official student here? That he's just pretending to be enrolled? This is a very serious matter. The pretentious coquette counselor quickly replied to Simon, don't worry, Mr. Wu. A university will not tolerate any student who violates the rules. The school has already decided to give George a disciplinary demerit. As for his student record, I've already reported it. If he's just a fake enrollee, we'll deal with it seriously. Luis couldn't stay silent any longer. Counselor, that's not fair, he protested. It was Martin who started it. He provoked George first. The pretentious coquette counselor slammed the table and shouted, who gave you permission to speak? George's misconduct and his corrupting influence on campus are disgraceful. If any of you dare argue again, you'll all get demerits. But then, before she could continue, a calm voice cut through the tension. I wasn't aware that students expressing concerns was now grounds for punishment. The pretentious coquette counselor turned pale. Vice President, you didn't have to come personally for such a small matter. I can handle this myself. The vice president entered, accompanied by 4 people. The moment Simon saw who was walking beside him, his demeanor changed completely. He hurried forward with a fawning smile, hand outstretched. President Wang, what a surprise. What a coincidence to see you here. But my dad didn't even glance at him. He walked straight over, grabbed me by the ear, and scolded. So you only know how to act tough at home, but out here you turn into a coward. Couldn't even call your old man. What? Everyone else has a father and you don't. If David hadn't told me, I wouldn't even know my own son was getting cursed out in school. The news that my dad was Million Wang left everyone stunned. Their eyes nearly popped out. Simon nervously wiped his brow. His little company was nothing compared to my dad. My father kept a low profile in this city, but everyone knew he was the richest man here. His annual donations alone were more than Simon's company made in profit. 2 new academic buildings at a university were funded by my dad. The vice president said, President Wang, rest assured, we will handle this strictly. He declared earnestly, since a university was founded, we've upheld academic integrity and won't tolerate any crooked behavior. We're already investigating those who stirred up slander and harmed George online. None of them will be spared. Simon hurried forward, trying to ingratiate himself. He slapped Martin on the face and barked, apologize to young Master Wang this instant. You little monster. My dad cut him off coldly. Mr. Wu, let's not make a scene. He was firm. We'll handle this by the book. Our company lawyer will pursue all legal channels. As for this counselor, my dad added indifferently, the reason you can't find George's records is that he changed his name. When he was a child he was nearly kidnapped. So I've instructed the schools to hide his information for his safety. The vice president is aware of this. The pretentious coquette counselor gaped, stammered an apology, and looked completely flustered. Makoto looked like he'd been slapped senseless, but he couldn't let it go. He pointed at me and shouted, so it turns out you're just a fraud. You're a rich kid pretending to be poor to date my sister. You were playing with her feelings all along. You never really loved her. At that, I felt a pang of guilt. I glanced toward Willow. She was watching everything calmly. Only her grip on my arm told another story. She was squeezing so hard it hurt. As for my roommates, you can't hide the look in someone's eyes when they want to kill. Chapter 11. Martin was expelled, and those classmates who hid behind accounts to slander me all received major demerits. As for Makoto, it turned out he returned to the country because of plagiarism abroad. His family tried to cover it up, but the person he plagiarized is now suing him. Once that news broke, Makoto's reputation collapsed overnight and a university dealt with him immediately. My dad, meanwhile, let me show off my wealth in full force. In my name he set up a fund at a university called the George Entrepreneurship Fund. Any student at a university whose project passes review can receive financial support from the Million Group. He also donated another batch of air conditioners to the school, each unit engraved with my name. A university gets unbearably hot in summer, you could fry an ant on the sidewalks. So with these ACs the students practically wanted to erect a statue for me. My dad also put together a legal team specifically to serve all university students. From now on, anyone who is defamed, slandered, or falsely accused can have our lawyers step in and fight for them. When everything settled, it was finally time for me to face the storm of judgment at home. I dragged a stool into the middle of the dorm and my roommates held a tribunal. Big bro Luis took out the watch he'd borrowed from me last time. His hands were shaking as he asked, "So, that Patek Philippe is real, the genuine model that retails for $300,000 on the official site?" I nodded silently. Second bro pulled a pair of shoes from the cupboard, eyes misting. "The shoes you lent me, they're real too. A limited pair that sold at auction for $200,000. I cleared my throat and kept nodding. Third bro hurriedly took off the suit he'd borrowed and smoothed the wrinkles carefully. "So, the jacket I wore on that date was real too, couture?" I didn't dare meet their eyes and kept nodding. Luis then bellowed the verdict. "Fourth bro, you're finished. You are totally finished." Second bro looked distraught. "So it turns out our dorm was secretly hiding a rich heir." Third bro's eyes lit up. "If your dad is Million Wong, then surely my dad must really be Mark Zuckerberg, right? Maybe I should go knock on his door and ask to be adopted." I said guiltily, "I really didn't mean to deceive you guys. For the past 3 years, my mom cut off my allowance. I was living pretty miserably, honestly. She's incredibly stubborn. When she decides to be tough on me, she really means it." But Luis crossed his arms and said, "No way we're letting this slide. You lied to us for 3 whole years." He then made the final decision. "Here's how you make it right. Treat us to a feast. $200 per person, minimum." I immediately nodded. "No problem. No problem. Eat all you want. My treat. That's more like it," second bro said, nodding thoughtfully. "Still, it's crazy to think we've been living with millions worth of stuff in this dorm, and we never even lock the door when we go out." Third bro sighed, looking sympathetic. "We're easy to deal with. One fancy dinner and we're good. But you should be thinking about Willow. It's been a week since your dad showed up, and she hasn't asked you to study with her once." Luis gave me a pitying look. "Yeah, man, that's rough. If I were Willow, I don't even know how I'd face you. She's the famously humble beauty of our school. And you're the hidden rich heir. Let's be real, people can go through hardships together, but not everyone can handle happiness together." "George, I think my orientation might be flexible. Maybe you should consider me instead. After all, we know each other inside out, we've even shared a bed." "You son of a..." Second bro and third bro immediately started shouting that they wanted to try cross-dressing too. I knew they were just trying to lighten the mood, to make me laugh. I sighed. I really didn't know how to face Willow. After all, I was the one who had deceived her first. Then my phone chimed, a message from Willow. She wrote, "You've had a week off. Once you're rested, come find me at the library." Then she added, "And don't buy milk tea this time. I want lemon green tea." A few seconds later, another message came through. "George, as long as you come, I'll be here waiting." "Oh," I yelled, jumping up. "Brothers, dinner's tomorrow. I'm going to study." God knows, I've never been this eager to go to the library in my life. Chapter 12, George's Confession. My name is George, formerly known as Giorgio. That name was given to me by my grandfather. My nickname, Big G, was something my brother David came up with. My father is the city's famous billionaire, Million Wong, and my mother is a top corporate lawyer, the kind of woman people call a legal goddess. By all accounts, I should have been born with a silver spoon in my mouth. But for a so-called rich kid, my childhood was anything but privileged. From ages 3 to 8, 5 long years, I was abused by my nanny. During that time, my dad was too busy to come home, and my mom was at the height of her career. The only person by my side was the nanny. How should I put it? Maybe because I was starved for love, desperate for affection and safety, I really did treat that nanny like family. I truly liked her, or at least, the version of her I thought she was. She used to say, "Giorgio likes Auntie, right? Auntie will always stay with you. Okay, Giorgio, you must listen to Auntie. If you don't, Auntie will leave. Then you'll have no daddy, no mommy, and no auntie. You'll be all alone. Giorgio, do I look pretty wearing your mommy's clothes? Giorgio, another kid invited you out to play, but Auntie said no. Auntie will play with you at home." During those years in kindergarten, I had no friends, no social life at all. If I disobeyed, she would lock me in the tiny storage space under the stairs. The only light came from a small vent in the wall. Sometimes she'd lock me in for 5 minutes, sometimes for 10, and every now and then, her voice would echo through the dark, calm, coaxing, the only sound that kept the shadows away. Her words were both my comfort and my chain, making me even more dependent on her. By the time my parents realized something was wrong, I was already 8. The doctors diagnosed me with Asperger's syndrome, what people commonly call autism. That night, my mother held me and cried all night long. I knew she blamed herself, but I didn't hold it against her. Not every woman is born to be a mother. She valued her career, and in doing so, She overlooked my growth, but my illness wasn't something she ever wished upon me. As for my dad, he was furious. In the years that followed, he lost so much hair that he ended up with a shiny bald spot. My grandparents rushed over from their hometown and gave my father a brutal beating. My grandfather struck him across the back with his cane and shouted, "You kept saying Giorgio was just shy, that he'd grow out of it. I think you don't deserve to be his parents. What's the use of making all that money if you can't even raise your own son properly?" Loud noises and shouting terrified me. Whenever I heard them, I would instinctively hide in the stairwell, lock the door, and squeeze my eyes shut. Outside, I could hear my mother crying and calling my name, and the sound of my father pacing anxiously back and forth. Then a gentle voice broke through the noise. "Grandma's here to take you home." My grandmother opened the door, scooped me up in her arms, and kissed my forehead. She said softly, "Come back to the countryside with Grandma." I'll make your favorite liangao, that cold rice jelly you love so much. Grandma raised a little yellow dog. You like dogs, don't you? And at home, we've got fruit trees everywhere. When they're ripe, Grandpa can take you climbing to pick them. All right. And just like that, my grandparents took me back to their hometown. Life there was completely different. In summer, when the heat shimmered off the fields, Grandpa and I would sit under the grape arbor eating watermelon. When it cooled down, he'd wear his big straw hat, I'd wear my little one, and we'd go to the river to catch fish and shrimp. In winter, when snow covered everything, we built snowmen together, rolling snowballs until our hands were numb. Grandma would bring me a bowl of steaming soup and hold it to my lips while I sat tucked under the blankets. During that first year back home, I barely spoke, but Grandpa never lost patience. He talked to me every day, even if I never responded. "Giorgio, look here, this fish's belly is round. That means she's carrying babies. We should let her go, so there'll be more fish in the river. This is a locust flower. Smell it, isn't it nice?" When I was a kid, my favorite food was locust flower dumplings. "Let's pick a basketful and have Grandma steam them for us." "You climb the ladder, but don't tell Grandma I let you, she'll scold me again." "Come, Giorgio, practice calligraphy with Grandpa. Quiet your heart and steady your hand." "Oh, look, Grandma, our Giorgio drew a shrimp. There's a spark of artistry in this. Maybe our boy will grow up to be a great painter one day." During the second year, I began trying to talk to them. One day, I tugged at Grandma's apron as she worked in the kitchen and said, "I want liangao." She turned, startled, her eyes welling up with tears. "Liangao, it's been so long since I made that." She suddenly smiled through her tears and hugged me tight. All right, Grandma will make liangao for her darling grandson." Later, as I was drawing, Grandpa leaned over to comment, "That horse looks good, it's got real spirit in it. Keep it up, Giorgio." Without looking up, I muttered, "Grandpa, that's a dog." He froze for a moment, and then burst into laughter. Not long after, I saw my grandparents holding each other, crying softly. "Old man," Grandma said, voice trembling. "Giorgio's talking again." "Yes," Grandpa replied, wiping his eyes. "He's talking. Our Giorgio's getting better." By the third year, I started learning how to talk to other kids my age. Every morning, Grandma would put a tiny backpack on my shoulders and gently push me toward the door. "Go on. Go play. I packed you fruit and snacks. Come back when you're tired." All right. I was able to take that first step because Grandma often invited the local kids over to play. After 2 years of silent company, I'd grown familiar with them. Even though I'd never said a word, they'd take me up the mountain to pick mulberries and apples, and once we even chased a wild rabbit through the fields. Later, I found out Grandpa had secretly followed us the whole way, worried I might get lost, and ended up twisting his ankle while climbing. He had to call someone to carry him back down the hill. And so, I spent 5 peaceful years in the countryside with my grandparents. When it was time for middle school, they worried that staying would affect my education and urged my parents to bring me back home. How to put it, after 5 years in the countryside, Grandpa and Grandma had fed me so well that I was rounder and healthier than our pigs. I'd become a chubby little black dumpling. The way my mom looked at me, you'd think she suspected I'd been swapped at birth. She practically wanted a DNA test. My dad, on the other hand, was thrilled that I could communicate normally, even if I still seemed a bit slow when quiet. To him, it was already a miracle. That's when I met David. He was bold and carefree, like a beam of sunlight breaking through clouds, and somehow, he lit up my world. Part of why our friendship became so strong was because I was, well, too slow. David once said, "I've never met anyone this slow before." I'm fascinated. He didn't realize I wasn't just slow, I was also a bit dumb. When someone called me a fat black dumpling, I called her a stupid donkey. When someone sneered, "Country bumpkin," I called her a stupid donkey. When someone said, "Shorty," I called her a stupid donkey. After 10 rounds of stupid donkey, she stormed off in rage. She underestimated the power of repetition. That stupid donkey turned out to be Freya, the same girl who once secretly had a crush on David, got jealous of me for being close to him, and later became his wife. Anyway, let's not talk about that donkey. I rarely took interest in anything outside my small world. Mostly, I just daydreamed and drew, until one day in my 3rd year of middle school, when I met Willow, in my father's office. That was the first time I'd ever felt genuine interest in someone. I was so excited that my dad nearly tried to bring Willow home and make her my sister. Of course, that plan didn't last long. My mom yelled at him for an entire evening. If other people in my eyes were just blurry, colorless shapes, then Willow was the one person with clear lines and color. Looking back, maybe I noticed her simply because she was strikingly beautiful, delicate features, cool and serene, the kind of face that made people turn twice. My father never expected me to get into a top high school. My mother, on the other hand, planned to send me abroad eventually. She just wanted my grades to be passable. By the time senior year rolled around, she was ready to ship me overseas. But I resisted. I wanted to stay, so I chose a university instead. My mom was furious. She even cut off my funds, while my dad said she was overreacting. Mom cried and said, "You don't understand, Million Wong. Have you ever thought about what happens when we're old? When we have to hand over the company? George doesn't even understand money. He'd get scammed and thank the person for it. All he does is draw and daydream. If I don't push him to go abroad, to face the world on his own, he'll stay trapped in his shell forever. When will he ever grow up?" Autism is something you never completely recover from. Even though I'd learned how to interact with people and pretend to be normal, I still spaced out often, looking a little vacant. In crowds, my body would stiffen up, and sometimes, I'd even walk with my arms and legs moving in sync, like a wind-up toy trying to act human. David once taught me a trick. Big G, he said, when you want to talk to people, just fake enthusiasm. Once they get used to you, they won't care if you're a bit slow. And when you don't want to deal with someone, just act mysterious. They'll get the hint and back off. I've got to say, David's trick worked wonders. When I started university, I used my fake hype skills to blend into dorm life fast. By the time my roommates realized I was a bit slow, it was too late. We were already brothers for life. Anyway, during high school, my biggest hobby was gossip. I loved watching drama unfold, especially Willow and Makoto's. 2 or 3 times a week, I'd follow them from afar, sometimes chewing on chicken breast, sometimes gnawing on lettuce leaves. David said I'd lost my mind. I even registered a secret account on the school forum just to keep up with their story. My ID was Willow's leg hair. It somehow blew up in popularity. When Makoto played basketball, I bought banners. When Willow danced, I sent flowers. When their exam results came out, I sponsored their whole class for dinner. And of course, I never revealed myself. Every event proudly announced, sponsored by Willow's leg hair. I couldn't help but chuckle as I wrote this part. Willow suddenly leaned over. "I thought you were watching some kind of sketchy video," she said, snatching my notebook and reading the text. Her brows furrowed. "Willow's leg hair, was you? Do you know that for 3 whole years in high school, whenever I wore a skirt, everyone, boys and girls, stared at my legs? Even my homeroom teacher once asked me if I actually had leg hair." I said, "Well, let's check and see." Willow rolled her eyes. I took the notebook back quickly. All right, I'm outlining a new comic series." "Okay, weren't you about to go out? Hurry, go." She ignored me, picked up the remote, and turned the air conditioner way down. "Why so cold?" I asked, confused. She gave a soft, knowing hum. "It might get hot later." I caught that look in her eyes and tried to bolt from the study, but Willow pressed a hand on my shoulder, sat down on my lap, and kissed me. Well, by then it was already our 2nd year after graduation. As for me, I really did become an artist, a comic artist, to be exact. But my first series was so unpopular that it nearly got axed. My dad, afraid I'd get discouraged, secretly threw in $1,000,000 in tips, which actually made me go viral. Now fans chase me daily, yelling, "Update faster or we'll riot." Guiltily, I just think, please subscribe more, guys, because Willow said I'm responsible for paying our utility bills, and I'm not allowed to use Dad's money. And let me tell you, electricity and hot water in summer are expensive, so sometimes Willow and I save water by showering together. As for Willow, she's pursuing her master's while interning, glowing with purpose every day. People often ask how she reacted after learning who I really was, but honestly, she didn't change at all. She never lets me give without giving back, never asks for luxury gifts. Whatever I give her, she treasures. Whatever she gives me, I cherish just as much. By the time she got her grad school results, she had completely given up on pushing me to study abroad. As for what happens next, well, I haven't written that part yet, because life is still moving forward, and I have no idea what tomorrow will bring. Chapter 13, Willow's Secret. My name is Willow. There's nothing special about it. My father was a gambler. When he drank, he beat my mother, and sometimes he beat me too. I grew up under the pitying looks of those around us. In a home like that, I never had a single real friend. When I was 8, my mother fell ill. My father, afraid of paying the hospital bills, ran away. My grandmother borrowed money from everyone she could, but still couldn't afford the treatment. My mother eventually pulled out her own oxygen tube and died. A couple of years later, the police came knocking. They said there was news from another province. My father had gotten drunk, fallen into a river, and drowned. They asked if our family wanted to retrieve the body. I didn't go, and I never told my grandmother about it. I grew numb to pain, and to life itself, but I knew I had to pretend to be obedient and sensible, so that my grandmother wouldn't worry. By the time I reached my 3rd year of middle school, the one person who had stayed with me, my grandmother, fell gravely ill. After thinking it over for days, I went to find the city's richest man, Million Wang. He and my grandmother were old acquaintances, and he had been sponsoring my education for years. I borrowed 300,000 yuan from Mr. Wang, but even so, I couldn't save her. My grandmother died with tears in her eyes, still clutching my hand with what little strength she had left. After she was gone, I often sat alone in the empty living room, staring into the dark until dawn, then quietly went to school as if nothing had happened. Our neighbor, Mrs. Ito, was kind. She often cooked for me and asked me to spend more time talking with her son. I was grateful for her kindness and agreed. Makoto Ito was an insecure person who cared far too much about appearances. He often annoyed me, though I never showed it. Grandma always used to say, if someone gives you a drop of kindness, you must return it with a spring. So I told myself that I owed the Ito family that much. Life was dull, monotonous, day after day, until one day, I noticed a chubby boy following behind me, and suddenly, life felt a little less empty. He always kept a careful distance, not too near, not too far. Sometimes he chewed on chicken breast, sometimes on lettuce leaves. By the time he finished eating, I'd reach school, and then he'd vanish. I didn't even know when it started, but I got used to it, to glancing back and checking what he was eating that day. I sometimes wondered what he wanted from me, or what kind of person he was. We were both students. After all, it was strange that someone his age wasn't studying, but following me instead. A day or two of that could have been coincidence, but months of it, that wasn't normal. I found myself looking over my shoulder every time I left the house. Eventually, I noticed a pattern. Whenever I was with Makoto, the chubby boy followed me longer, but when I was alone, he'd watch for a bit and then leave. I started wondering if maybe he had unusual interests. In high school, there was a gossip group on the school forum that called itself the Willow Makoto Chronicles. Its leader went by the name Willow's Leg Hair. He sponsored our class events, which made me both embarrassed and helpless. In my 2nd year, Makoto asked if I wanted to join a school talent contest with him. I agreed, mostly because the first place prize was 500 yuan. On the day of the competition, Willow's Leg Hair sent over boxes of supplies, snacks, drinks, and even sponsored our performance costumes. No matter how much I asked around, no one could tell me who Willow's Leg Hair really was. While getting my makeup done backstage, I spotted Fatty, the boy who had been following me for a year now. Over that year, he'd grown taller, and even, well, kind of handsome. Still, he had that blank, dazed look, sitting quietly in a corner seat, pulling out a lunchbox filled with boiled chicken breast. I saw one of the girls from our school deliberately trip in front of him, clearly trying to get his attention. So calculating, and for some reason, the thought came to me, if he ever starts liking someone else, will he stop watching me? Just as that strange ache settled in my chest, he glanced coldly at the girl, stood up silently, and moved to a more secluded corner, and somehow, that little action made me inexplicably happy. Makoto came over to talk to me, and I felt oddly nervous. When I turned my head, my eyes met Fatty's from across the room. I lost focus for a moment. By the time I came back to my senses, he'd finished his chicken, and just like always, disappeared without a word. When I went on stage, I was still a little distracted, but we ended up winning first place anyway. Willow's Leg Hair celebrated behind the scenes. He even hired an ice cream truck to come to school. It was such a grand gesture that I was both embarrassed and dying of curiosity. I scratched my head for days, desperate to find out who this mysterious Willow's Leg Hair was. By senior year, I finally learned the truth. It was him. It happened by chance. One day during class, I fainted and was sent to the infirmary. After the checkup, as I walked out, I saw him standing outside. He didn't notice me, so, on impulse, I quietly sat behind him and peeked at his phone. His WeChat username read Willow's Leg Hair. For a moment, everything inside me froze. Memories flashed like lightning, the forum posts, the banners, the ice cream truck, the quiet figure eating chicken in the distance. So it was him all along. He was Willow's leg hair, the head of that ridiculous Ito-Lu Support Association. All this time, he had been watching me, just to observe my story with Makoto. A tight, suffocating pain filled my chest. I felt so stupidly hurt, like something inside me had splintered. Then, suddenly, he turned around and looked right at me. It was the first time in 2 years that we had been so close. I couldn't speak. I just stared at him. He looked back for 3 seconds, calm, unreadable, then quietly stood up and walked away. His first few steps were awkward, his arms and legs moving stiffly in sync. He paused for a moment, collected himself, and then continued walking forward. Later, I asked him why he had gone to the infirmary that day. He thought for a moment, then said, "I have social anxiety. Whenever there are too many people around, I get nervous. So I make myself go to crowded places, hospitals, public squares, school gates, to train a little." That was so like him, calm, serious, and a little awkward. I didn't know whether to laugh or feel sorry for him. After the college entrance exams, Makoto was preparing to study abroad. Mr. Ito had made a lot of money in the past few years, so everything was arranged for him. Before he left, Makoto confessed his feelings to me. He said he liked me, and asked if I'd go abroad with him. I rejected him, directly and clearly. I told him that if it hadn't been for his mother, I never would have gotten close to him in the first place. Makoto walked into the airport looking hollow, like someone had drained all the light out of him, and I felt relieved. But on my way home, it started to rain, the sky cracked open, and the whole world turned gray. I sat under the awning of a convenience store, hiding from the downpour, feeling strangely empty inside. I thought, Makoto's gone, the little drama is over. But will he still come to see me? When I lifted my head, I saw him, Fatty. He was sitting under another big umbrella across the street, wearing a black cap, chewing on chicken breast while scribbling something in a notebook. I didn't even think, I just got up and started walking toward him, but I never made it there. A black Maybach stopped right between us. When it drove away, Fatty was gone. I stood there for a while, staring at the empty seat he'd left behind. On the table, there was a pen, a sleek, dark pen with a silver tip. He must have dropped it. I picked it up and waited, but he never came back for it. After that day, I carried that pen with me everywhere. I hoped that someday, Fatty would see it and recognize it. When I got into university, I barely saw him again. Maybe a university was too far from wherever he studied. Or maybe, now that Makoto was gone, there was no reason for him to follow me anymore. I kept that pen tucked safely away, never once using it. It wasn't until my roommate teased me about it that I learned the truth. That pen was worth over 10,000 yuan. He was richer than I'd ever imagined. But the fact that he lost something so valuable and didn't bother to come back for it, maybe, in his eyes, I was just like that pen, a fleeting distraction, nice to have, but easy to forget. Still, I never expected what came next, because one day, Fatty turned out to be my classmate. When I saw him in the cafeteria, I honestly thought I was dreaming. My best friend nudged me and whispered, "Him? He's from the computer science department. His name's George." She grinned. "He looks hard to get along with, doesn't he? So quiet and deep, like someone who's got secrets." I was speechless, clutching my lunch tray tightly. I tried to stay calm while lining up behind him. When it was his turn, he sighed at the lunch lady and said weakly, "Dear lady, please, just a bit more meat. I'm broke." My heart almost broke right there with him. When he swiped his meal card, I caught a glimpse of his balance, only 5 yuan left. I gathered every bit of courage I had and asked for his WeChat. To my surprise, he actually added me, trying to hide my nervousness. I forced myself to stay calm and coolly sent him some part-time job information. I had no idea what happened, but he really did start working part-time with me. Looking back on those 2 years, everything feels hazy, almost unreal. I still can't believe we spent nearly every day together. He was incredibly serious about everything he did and never complained about being tired. But George was very careless with money. When he first got paid, he'd spend it all within 2 or 3 days. Later, whenever he got paid, I started helping him plan how to spend it properly. By junior year, though, George stopped working part-time. I figured maybe his family started giving him money again, because I often found him secretly slipping imported snacks into my backpack. Willow, my best friend, asked, "What's going on between you and George? You two are always together, but I've never even seen you hold hands. Are you dating or not?" When I didn't answer, she immediately made the decision for me. She prepared a little kit to help me look more charming, determined to make him fall head over heels for me. I wasn't sure if it would work, but I did want to test how he really felt about me. One night, while delivering something, I happened to run into him at a well-known local club. That night, George was having dinner with a few friends. I watched as they entered a private room, chatting and laughing. After a while, one of his friends got drunk. George helped him out to get a taxi, and I instinctively hid in a corner. His friend said, "Big G, seriously, can you stop being such a coward? You've been with Willow for 3 years in high school and 2 more in college, and you still haven't made a move, bro. Life's just a game and a dream, you've gotta enjoy it while it lasts. If you keep hesitating, you're wasting your youth." A game and a dream. So George only saw me as part of a game. The next day, George asked me to go to the amusement park. When we got on the Ferris wheel, he tentatively brushed his hand against mine, just like his friend had told him to. I wondered, if I pulled away, would George stop playing this game altogether? So I responded instead, intertwining my fingers with his. He was first surprised, then overjoyed. At the highest point of the Ferris wheel, he suddenly pulled me into his arms and kissed me. Looking straight into my eyes, he said clearly, "Willow, I like you. What about you? Do you like me too?" In my heart, I said, "Yes, I love you very much." From that day on, we officially became a couple, walking hand in hand around campus. But even though we were together, I couldn't shake a strange emptiness inside. To be honest, I didn't know how to truly keep George close. He almost never got jealous when other people tried to pursue me. He'd listen as if hearing a story, then turn away and go watch anime. On my birthday, Makoto's sudden appearance caught me completely off guard. When he did something that hurt George's reputation, I was furious beyond words. Rumors spread all over campus, and when Martin badmouthed George right in front of me, even slapping him across the face didn't make me feel any better. Fortunately, Mr. Wong stepped in and smoothed things over. George didn't know that I had long since found out he was the son of Million Wong. Not long after we got together, Mr. Wong came to see me. He spoke gently and politely, saying, "Willow, I've watched you grow up since you were little, so I'll be direct. George may seem no different from others, but when he was young, due to our negligence, he developed autism. Don't be fooled by his cheerful demeanor. Emotionally, he's still quite immature, though he's improved a lot. Sometimes his reactions are slow, and he has a weaker perception of the world around him. George is an honest child. He's been trying hard to adapt to society, to work and earn money on his own, and he's becoming more cheerful and resilient." So, it turned out Mr. Wong and his family knew about George working part-time outside. He went on. "But in the end, his condition still needs time and care. Willow, you're a sensible girl, there are some things you need to think through carefully." I knew exactly what Mr. Wong meant, and I nodded in agreement. The truth is, we both knew that George being with me might not necessarily be because of love. He experiences emotions differently from others. Once, I asked him what it was that he liked about me. He answered very seriously, "I like your colors and your lines." I was grateful that George was born into a wealthy and powerful family, one that allowed him to live freely in his own world. He worked hard to grow up, to appear capable and reliable in front of others, but when he was with me, he could drop the mask and reveal the innocent, childlike side of himself. One day, in the library, George asked me why I liked him. I joked, "Because I was moved by your poor yet unyielding spirit." In truth, I couldn't come up with a reason. He had quietly watched me for 6 years, and I had secretly watched him for 6 years too. Love often begins without reason, yet once it starts, it runs deep and unstoppable. Perhaps that's what this kind of feeling really is.